press the bell icon on the YouTube app to never miss a video from News Laundry.
Welcome to News Laundry Interviews. I'm Nandita Rao. I'm a lawyer and it is my privilege to interview Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi. We will be talking about his fresh released book, From the Trenches. First chapter itself is about Article 19, which you describe in your book as one of the anchors of our democracy. This is in the context of Tata Press versus MTNL, where you pitched the argument that advertorial speech or commercial speech is also part of the right of freedom of speech and expression.
I came across this interesting judgment in USA which overruled that earlier US judgment. So US Supreme Court law had changed. However, the Indian law remained, Hamdard remained. So I told the bench, I said, is your lordships bound to follow a country of origin of a judgment where that country has changed, taken a different stand? And how does speech which is otherwise free suddenly cease to be protected under 19(1)(a) because it acquires a commercial flavor?
Why is it that today, there's so much mistrust in the bar? Has the bar and bench got polarized like our society?
That is my biggest problem. My father and Ashok Sen fought 6 elections in the Supreme Court bar. Everybody who went to vote would greet them. They would chat and they would go and vote for one or the other. Within 1.5 minutes of the result being out, my father would pick up the phone or Ashok would pick up the phone and say, LM, congratulations. I have appeared for a large number of so-called BJP MLAs and MPs earlier. Because you come to a dentist when your tooth aches, not on the basis of what he eats or whether he belongs to your party or my party. But today, if I was to do it, just the sheer act of doing it would be misunderstood. My
question as a woman now and not as a lawyer is that I thought our grandmothers had fought the battle and won it for us. That menstruation is not impurity.
No, you're right.
And do you think that if the Sabarimala verdict is set on its head, this would, again start cropping up?
Sabarimala cannot but be explained in slightly legal terms, and I'll try not to be technical, but you have to understand. Now I understand entirely, and I personally believe, there's no question, if I was to say that menstruating women generally are to be excluded, or for that matter I said, men are allowed, women are not allowed. Obviously wrong, indefensible, but this is much more nuanced. The core issues are 2 or 3-fold. The exclusion is based on a particularity and peculiarity of the nature of the deity, which has a nexus to the exclusion. So this is to be argued. I'm not saying this is right.
I understand, but
it's obviously a little plausible and over-submissive for him to say
find it misogynistic.
You're excluding menstruating women. Well, you're not excluding, but you are excluding them for this particular temple. All these women can go and worship at every Ayyappan temple, where the Naishtik Brahmacharya pose is not depicted.
But then some men of reproductive age are allowed. So the onus of sexuality, male sexuality is being put on women.
That's a very good question. They are not allowed. No, they are not. Very interesting.
When Madhya Pradesh government was having a committee on Bhopal gas tragedy victims, there was a big furor because you were representing Dow Chemicals. And at that time you said that, I keep them separate. I don't influence the party.
As you know, you were there in that case also. That is a wrong exclusion according to me. I went, Nandita, almost 12 times to Madhya Pradesh High Court, and many times you were there. I was doing a purely professional job. Purely. Nobody objected. When it got hot, some elements in politics more than NGO, I say it publicly, with motivated interest, objected. I today am able to say to you, I don't accept that objection, even if it comes from my party, at all. But it raised to a pitch because today it is not the political party, it is the press which rules.
There's a kind of mass hysteria in the country based on media trials, which is to get instant justice. You mentioned the case of the Hyderabad encounter and the hysteria generated in Nirbhaya's case.
Hyderabad, you are absolutely right. There are hundreds of examples. I mean, this is one example you're giving, and it is not even, I'm not talking of sub judice rule. See, sub judice is a very small little piddly rule which we have forgotten and buried long ago. Today, the press is just sensationalizing. What is worse, unfortunately, even level-headed judges have to play to the galleries. I'll take only half a minute more. I believe that the biggest threat to free speech is not from government, is not from legislation, is not external from you to me or me to you. The biggest threat to free speech is the obligation to conform.
You highlight a concern that while commercial speech is indeed, thanks to you and the Honorable Supreme Court, freedom of expression right, but fake news, paid news and, edited or misinformed news has become a social menace.
Absolutely.
And, your views on how this can be regulated. Of course, news laundry and these alt news are mediums which, question the authenticity.
The issue in law here was not the pernicious misuse. The issue here was within a category of speech. You and I are speaking.
Yes.
Part of our speech is protected, part of it is not protected. So that part is decided. Yes. But certainly, the fact that the arc of protection of one of our most cherished rights, I would say, with 21 and with a few others, it is one of the most cherished articles, 19(1)(a). That arc has to be very carefully seen.
Yes.
And it has to come from within. I mean, forget the social media and the fake news. As you know, the other day, I got a fake news on my telephone that China has killed 20,000 people because of coronavirus. Because they are a cruel society, yes, and they just don't bother. They'd rather kill them rather than cure them or control them. Now, I actually believed it for 10 minutes. It was so authentic.
You quote an anecdote where Justice Kuldeep Singh and Senior Advocate Mr. Ramaswamy and Justice Kuldeep Singh tells Mr. Ramaswamy that how can we accept this point? Do you think we are fools? And Mr. Ramaswamy in the heat of the moment retorts, my lord, I don't know what to say. If I say yes, I will be guilty of contempt. If I say no, I will be guilty of perjury.
What a beautiful episode. But the episode is, of course, very witty, yes, but the real underlying point can't be missed. Yes. And I must remind you, and the young lawyers today, and the young people, you as Kuldeep Singh and I as Ramaswamy have to have those broad shoulders. Yes. Yes. Transplant this into today's world. Right. If you said this to me, 99% cases, you would be misunderstood.
Coming to a personal touch, it was really interesting for me to read in the Jallikattu thing how much you love animals, because that's a facet of your personality. And, everything you've written about your dog and how he's like a member of your family and,
On a lighter vein, Buddy Life, which is the best animal magazine, in terms of circulation, did a cover page with me and my dog in this very lawn in 2016. Where the title they gave is "My Ambition is to be a Dog." But Jallikat, while I respect completely a custom, yes, I respect that cultural factors in Kerala might deserve that. But the point is, it is not protected. It is not like a religious practice, yes, which is protected in 25-26. That's point one people forget. Correct. If it was, yes, howsoever cruel, it probably have to be allowed, subject to public order, morality and health. However, it is worse in Jallikat. Yes. Jallikat was a case which involved a direct provision of the Animal Welfare Act, yes, which is about a certain form of cruelty along with permissions required. And that was a violation of statute as well. So no protection in constitution and violating a statute. Yes. Unfortunately, and I've said there, and I wish I could, I argued the first matter successfully. And then because of some external political reasons, I could not argue the second one.
You have two personas. You are a senior advocate. On the other hand, you're also a senior leader of the Congress party. So oftentimes, the party has a particular political position, and you may have a client who has a conflict of interest or a contrary position.
I have, on the whole, I think, managed to perform my dual roles, in fact triple roles, because I'm also in the press. I'm the spokesperson and a third-term MP. Party. So these triple roles, on the whole, I completely rigorously keep a Chinese wall between my court work and here. And I think more or less you will find that. I take care, for example, not in having press conferences on matters I'm actively appearing in. If I have to do, sometimes it is only annotating the contention, never passing judgment. These are things you have to be doing in a sober way. Sensationalism is so easy. Yes. Today I occupy three roles, yes, and in a sense have occupied for almost 15-20 years in terms of executive, legislative and judiciary. Yes. If you talk of judiciary in the larger sense, I'm part of it. Yes. If you talk of executive in the larger sense, I was part of it, spokesperson, etc. And you talk of a legislator, I'm a third-term MP. So you have to be very careful in your own. But that small band of 10-20% cases where it is misused does exist.
मुफ्त खोरो, मुफ्त में इतना ही मिलेगा. To watch the full unedited interview, you have to subscribe to News Laundry and pay to keep news free. Because when the public pays, the public is served. We depend on you and not on advertisers. So go to www.newslaundry.com/subscription and subscribe and get all our unedited interviews, our special video shows, comics, and everything that's behind the paywall. Remember, to subscribe to News Laundry, you pay just about 10 rupees a day. That's less than, well, no, a cigarette. And smoking is injurious to health. So subscribe and watch the full interview.